A phone call. A cry. And then silence. In the middle of a dark, rural Minnesota night, a college student vanished without a trace while still on the phone with his father. What happened to Brandon Swanson remains one of the most chilling and unexplained disappearances in modern American history. Brandon Swanson was just 19 years old. A bright, responsible young man studying wind energy at Minnesota West Community and Technical College. He lived in Marshall, Minnesota, a quiet town surrounded by farmland, grain silos, and open prairie roads. He wasn't a troublemaker. He didn't do drugs. He had a part-time job. He was close to his parents, Brian and Annette. He wasn't the kind of kid to just disappear. On the evening of May 13th, Brandon attended a party in Canby, Minnesota, about 30 miles from his home. Although he had a few drinks, he wasn't considered intoxicated by his friends. Around 12:30 a.m. on May 14th, while driving home, Brandon accidentally drove his car into a ditch on a gravel road. Unhurt, he called his friends for help but couldn't reach anyone. He then called his parents, but somewhere along the way, something went terribly wrong. At 1:54 a.m., Brandon called his parents. His voice was calm. He told them he had accidentally driven into a ditch but wasn't hurt. He asked them to come get him. He believed he was near the small town of Lind, a few miles from home. Brian and Annette Swanson got in their truck, keeping Brandon on the phone. They looked for flashing lights. Brandon saw nothing. They honked. He didn't hear them. It quickly became clear. He wasn't where he thought he was. They stayed on the line for 47 minutes, trying to coordinate their location. Brandon didn't seem scared. He said he was going to start walking toward what he thought was the town of Lind. Then, suddenly, he shouted, "Oh, shit!" The call went dead. His parents tried calling back. Again and again. No answer. His parents tried calling back but received no response. Brian and Annette searched the area where they believed Brandon was but found no sign of him or his vehicle. Brian and Annette drove around frantically until sunrise, hoping to spot him. At 6:30 a.m., they went to the Lind Police Department. But they were told, quote, "He has a right to be missing." It wasn't until 12:30 p.m. that police officially joined the search. Local police and volunteers launched extensive ground and air searches. Hours later, Brandon's car was found, not near Lind, but in a ditch outside of Taunton, 25 miles northwest. He had been completely wrong about his location. Tracking dogs were brought in. They followed Brandon's scent from the car to an abandoned gravel road, through fields, and eventually to the Yellow Medicine River. The dogs crossed the river and so, it seemed, had Brandon. But if he crossed it successfully, why did the trail abruptly vanish on the other side? No clothing, no phone, no body. And no signs of struggle. Investigators considered many possibilities. Did he fall into the river and drown? But no body was ever found even after multiple dive searches. Did he die of exposure or injury while walking through fields in pitch-black night? Still, not a single shred of clothing or evidence has ever been discovered. Some locals believe Brandon may have encountered someone, a stranger in the dark. A car. A weapon. A mistake. Or was he abducted? In 2009, partly due to Brandon's case, Brandon's Law was passed in Minnesota. It mandates an immediate investigation when an adult is reported missing under suspicious circumstances. His parents never gave up. They still search. still wonder what happened in those last minutes of his phone call. Brandon's disappearance remains one of the most unsettling unsolved cases in America. A boy lost. On the phone. Reaching for help. And then, the silence. If you have any information on Brandon Swanson's case, contact the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. Because someone, somewhere, still knows what happened that night. Subscribe for more real-life mysteries and true crime cases. And always remember, sometimes the scariest stories are the ones that never end.